All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the LifeWave Product Connect. Very excited to be seeing everyone come in to join today's really important topic. I am particularly excited about this one. Just a reminder, my name is Kristen Knight. I am the head of Global Marketing Communications and PR. And I'm joined, as always, by our fearless leader, David Schmidt, to talk about today's exciting and, I have to say, critical topic. And there's news in what he's going to say today that made me very happy. So this is going to be a very shareable product connect. I encourage you to share this with everyone you know. There's some key new research and science on how to live our best lives. And so hello, David, and I'm excited to talk to you about this topic today.
Kristen, same here. Great to see you and great to have time with our community. And of course, what we want to be talking about today is the important pillars of health: exercise, eating healthy, sleeping, using supplements, using LifeWave patches. And by putting the foundation in place, we can optimize our health. But some of these areas usually slip. So we're going to be focusing on exercise today. Many people think, well, if I'm not getting into the gym an hour a day, I can't reshape my body. I can't have optimum health. And that's simply not true. And we're engaged in some new research now that people are going to be very excited about, because it means that you can exercise for a very small amount of time, yet get really, really great results.
Okay, but before we get too deep into that topic, I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of some news that dropped yesterday. If you didn't see it, go Google it. Our own World's Oldest Intern short, featuring William Shatner and Doug Drexler from Star Trek fame, topped out over 2 million views. In fact, I think we're at 2.3 million today. And excitingly, we announced that episodes 2 and 3 will be coming to this very inventive and shareable series of short films that feature LifeWave, introduce people to the Innovative Welcome Center, and really, it really talks about the heart of how we believe in boldly going where no wellness company has gone before. So please share that with people you know. It's really funny. I giggle every time I see it, but it also has a great message. So go find that article and share it with your friends. All right.
Kristen, it's been a fantastic project doing World's Oldest Intern. And when we started out, we thought, well, having a target of 500,000 views would be amazing. So that was kind of like the hope. And we thought, if it goes viral, maybe we'll get 1 million views. And so now crossing the 2.3 million views number, absolutely incredible. We're so appreciative to Bill Shatner for being a part of this. And of course, Doug Drexler for designing our amazing Welcome Center. And we're now introducing literally millions of people around the world to LifeWave and our Welcome Center. So this is the 60th anniversary of Star Trek this year. So we're thrilled we get to continue on with the World's Oldest Intern series with parts 2 and 3. And of course, we'll be releasing those parts later this year into our community. So really, really fun experience, fun way to share LifeWave.
I love it. I love it. So keep posted on episodes 2 and 3. I want everyone to make sure that they share those with friends as they come along. So, all right, let's talk today about exercise and longevity. There's a lot of myths out there. More is more. You need to push harder if you're not seeing results. And then there's exercise for performance versus exercise for longevity. And I know you've done a lot of research on this front, David, and I'd love, what are your thoughts on this idea, the old-fashioned myths of more is more and exercise for performance versus exercise for longevity?
Yeah. So first thing is, for each individual, the specificity of exercise is going to be rather critical, meaning that if you're someone that's a bodybuilder and that's what you choose to do, then you train like a bodybuilder. If you're going to be a marathon runner, then train like a marathon runner. So that's pretty good contrast. for the topic of discussion today. So what we're going to be talking about is how you can exercise for longevity. And also, this would fit a crowd that if you're, now you could apply these techniques at any age, but let's say you're someone that's over the age of 40 or 50, you haven't exercised in a while, and you want to get back into exercise, but you have a busy lifestyle, maybe you have a family, you work a lot of hours. The question is, how can you start and maintain and be committed to an exercise program without spending many, many hours in the gym? So where these approaches are going to fit in, and of course, we'll talk about how to incorporate LifeWave technology into all of this for optimizing results, is that this would be a program that would be suitable for someone that hadn't exercised in a while and wants to put the minimum amount of time in, yet get maximum results. And then if you wanted to add more volume of training later on, increase the amount of time, you could do that. And very often, of course, people, they start to see a change in their body shape. They're starting to see increases in muscle, decrease in body fat. They're going to start to want to add on more exercise because they're excited. And of course, that's totally fine. But this is, what we might say is the minimum effective dose. So the minimum amount you could do with incredible results. The other side to this is we think about the longevity aspect of it. So I'm going to use weight training as an example, since this is something that I personally enjoy. Many people, when they're younger, when they get involved in weight training, they put an emphasis on training heavy. So this is fine if you're a bodybuilder or a power lifter, but the clinical studies have shown that the amount of weight that you lift is not necessarily important to hypertrophy, muscle growth. So what that means is you could train with heavy weight for lower reps as long as you're putting in enough training volume, or you could train with much lighter weight, but for much higher training volume to get the same result. So what this means is that as you get older, let's say you're taking someone 50 or 60 years old or above, and they're interested in exercise for longevity. The message here is you don't have to train with heavy weight. You would train with a lighter weight, but for higher volume. And this would be equivalent to the total amount of work performed. So this reduces risk of injury. Now, that's actually not going to apply to what we're talking about today, because we're talking about very brief 10-second duration exercise to achieve a given result. We'll get into that in more detail. But basically, when we're looking at exercise for longevity, we want to be thinking about reducing the risk of injury. So this is, if you're weightlifting, this is reducing the amount of weight. And we're also thinking about metabolic stress. So there comes a point where if you're training too long in the gym, it's going to be counterproductive to longevity relative to hormones and oxidative stress. This would be similar to when someone is a marathon runner. When they're jogging or running for hours, they're putting tremendous amounts of metabolic stress on their body, wearing down the joints, and that's not conducive to a lifestyle that's going to produce you living a maximum number of years. So that's how we frame exercise relative to longevity.
Love it. Okay, you used a couple big words in there. I'm going to ask, what is hypertrophy? And what is oxidative stress, and why should we care about those two things in terms of exercise?
So hypertrophy would, in simple terms, be muscle growth. So what we want to do is provide a stimulus. In resistance training, we would be lifting a certain amount of weight over a period of time so as to stimulate the muscle into growth. Traditionally, this is looked at as causing damage to the muscle tissue. So now the body has to repair that damage, And when the muscle gets repaired, it becomes bigger and stronger. We're not going to be talking about weightlifting today in this program or this technical approach, so people that don't want to lift weights don't have to worry about that. For oxidative stress, what this means is that the process of living generates oxidative stress in the cell. This would normally be, it's a natural byproduct of energy metabolism. So we consume food, and we're going to turn those fats and carbohydrates over into energy. And in the process, just like a car would have exhaust gases, the exhaust from the cells are what are called oxidative chemicals. Those are part of the byproducts. They do actually form a very beneficial function in prevention of disease and reduction in infection at injury sites. But if you're exercising for a very, very long period of time and you don't have a healthy diet or you don't use the patches, the antioxidant levels become depleted and those oxidative chemicals damage healthy tissue. A really good example is Parkinson's disease. People that are marathon runners can often develop Parkinson's disease because their glutathione levels drop, and glutathione is the antioxidant that protects the myelin sheath around the nerves. So what this means is that a downside of training for a long period of time is that it can put a lot of oxidative stress on the body and actually potentially reduce your longevity by causing wear and tear on the body. So shorter, briefer, more intense exercise sessions are more conducive to longevity.
Love it. So is that why you get inflammation in your joints? Is part of that oxidative stress? You're pushing the body too hard and it can't recover. Is that part of that, over the top training issue where you start to get the results of too much that your body can't handle? You don't make enough glutathione or antioxidant to balance it. Is that what's going on there sometimes?
That's normally associated with inflammatory markers like CRPs, which are C-reactive proteins, and inflammatory cytokines. And so if the joints are related to exercise, that would be relatively normal, a normal inflammatory response. Of course, the type of inflammatory response that we want to be careful of and avoiding would be in autoimmune disorders. So, for example, in osteoarthritis, we get immune cells attacking healthy tissue, and now that's an unhealthy inflammatory response. But fortunately, inflammation can be managed with a number of natural products. So things like curcumin, olive oil is a wonderful anti-inflammatory, dimethyl sulfoxide, which is called DMSO, very, very powerful anti-inflammatory. These are all natural compounds that help to manage inflammatory stress. It's probably also a really good time to say that I am not a medical doctor. I'm not providing medical advice. Any information we have here is for informational purposes only, and someone can take this information to their doctor to create a program that's right for them.
Love it. Okay, you've mentioned what you recommend in terms of exercise for longevity. Do you mind just laying out what that regimen would look like and what a good foundational longevity training program would look like?
Sure. Let's go ahead and there's two parts that we want to cover here. So I can cover both of these parts now, and then we can get back to getting into some specifics with this. But first, we'll talk about cardiovascular training. So if someone was perhaps thinking, okay, I have a limited amount of time, I could fit in exercise into 20 minutes a few times a week. Which method of exercise do I want to pursue? Well, maybe really the good news here is that after seeing this today, you don't have to choose between cardiovascular fitness and resistance training. It's possible to get in all of this work in a very short period of time, in minutes per day, a few days a week. So we're going to talk about cardio first, because cardiovascular disease is still the #1 killer. And so looking from the perspective of improving how long we live and also improving our health span, meaning we want to stay as young as possible, as long as possible, and exercise needs to fit into that program. As a matter of fact, medical doctors and clinical research, what it's going to support is that the single best thing that people can do to improve longevity is exercise. And the reason for this is that as people get to age 70, they've lost maybe 50% of their muscle mass and also seen decreases in their bone density. So a fall after age 70 can be catastrophic. So exercise can reduce all-cause mortality, meaning whether or not we're talking about cancer, diabetes, heart disease, exercise is an intervention that can dramatically reduce risk of all of those disease states and give us better quality of life. There's no drug, no product that will replace exercise. So this is to say we want to promote a healthy lifestyle at Lifeway, eat healthy, get plenty of rest and recovery, and get regular exercise. And that way you'll get the best benefits out of the patches and our other products.
Love it. So you recommend cardio?
Well, yes, but
Okay.
a specific type of cardio. So what I mean by that is many people are not going to want to get on a treadmill an hour a day. And so I've got great news. We're going to talk today about a method, and we have a clinical study going on right now about this. And it's 10 minutes of exercise twice a week. That will be the equivalent of 90 minutes of running.
How
And
is that
it's
possible?
actually,
How is that
and
possible?
we're gonna talk about it. It's actually when you break it down, it's 80 seconds of cardiovascular training per week. So someone's with us today and they can't commit 80 seconds per week to exercise. They could drop off now. But if you want to know how 80 seconds of training can be the equivalent of 90 minutes of moderate running, stay tuned, because this really works. I've been doing it myself. It's amazing. It almost feels like, I came back to Denmark recently, and I had a very short connection. I had a layover in JFK, and I was as far away from my connecting gate as possible in that airport. And I had to run for 20 minutes to go from the gate where I landed to my connection. And of course, it was stressful because I had a small amount of time. And it felt like having a superpower because I ran for that 20 minutes, never got tired, never got winded, was still completely energized. And it's completely attributed to this technique of exercising. And of course, I eat healthy and use the patches. So, but I thought I would start off with this because this is kind of fun. It's about the mind-body connection. And there's been some studies over the years that have shown that it's possible through meditation to get about 80% of the benefits of exercise just by thinking about it. And I once contemplated I might invent a product where you go to sleep at night and the device would make you dream about exercise, and you could be building your body just by thinking about the exercise at night.
That's genius. Yes.
But, during the 50s, 60s, 70s, athletes talked about the mind-body connection. Bodybuilders specifically would talk about focusing their intention on a muscle group as they're exercising it. And here, I mean, this is very clear. You can't necessarily get this type of performance increase even from caffeine. 65% performance improvement just by focusing on your muscle groups as you train them. Incredible. So this would be to say, don't mindlessly go through the exercise. Put your phone away, stay focused. Don't waste time on talking to people, in the gym or wherever you are. Stay focused on your training and, you'll actually get better results.
That is amazing. So, in addition to the mind, I've heard that every drop of sweat counts to keep the brain healthy. Um, do you mind talking to us? What do you know about the brain and how it's affected by exercise?
Yeah. So no question about it that exercise, both resistance training and cardiovascular training, have a remarkable effect on improving cognitive function. Now, there's a number of reasons why. One of the reasons is that as we exercise, we produce nitric oxide. So nitric oxide is a gas. It is transitory, so it's produced and then it gets destroyed through metabolism. But nitric oxide, which was discovered by Louis Ignarro, and he won a Nobel Prize for this discovery, it acts as a vasodilator. And men, or women on the call will be familiar with this because that's what the drug Viagra is based around. It's a PDE5 inhibitor, which circulates nitric oxide. But actually, that drug was originally developed to improve cardiovascular health. So what this means is that as we exercise, our nitric oxide levels go up. It will cause an expansion of the blood vessels. As they expand, blood flow increases, and this is going to improve circulation up around the brain, and that helps to facilitate cognition. Nitric oxide, in addition, acts like a hormone. So it has some level of hormonal activity, not only throughout the body, but also in the brain. So this is just to say that the direct effect of either resistance training or cardiovascular training is simply going to be to facilitate an improvement in circulation.
Amazing.
That's a simplistic way to look at how it's improving cognition.
That's amazing. So back to your 80 seconds. 80 seconds of
Okay.
goodness. What do we do in those 80 seconds?
Yeah. So one of my interests in our research studies is a gift that I would like to give to our community is to do research where we can demonstrate that you can have very small sessions in the gym, yet yield incredible results, so that people that don't enjoy exercise will be able to spend just a small amount of time and get enough benefit that it has meaningful results on their immediate health and also their longevity. So, in practical terms, what this means is after doing just 6 to 8 weeks of this 10-minute training, people that haven't exercised in a while will notice, wow, I can run up a flight of stairs now and I don't get tired. I can go out and play with my kids or my grandkids and I'm not getting fatigued. I can go for a brisk walk and feel great. These types of things. This exercise translates very, very well over into the real world, and it is not demanding for time. So for follow-up, I pulled a number of references here, but it's called REHIT for short, which is reduced exertion, high intensity interval training. So what this simply means, and I've spoken with scientists now doing this research and have been involved in these discoveries. And the genesis of this was that these exercise physiologists were looking at a group of Olympic athletes and college athletes that were sprinters. And what they noticed was they were asking the question of how many sprints does someone need to do for optimum performance? And so they were measuring the results, and they found something extraordinary, was that if the sprints were kept to 20 seconds and they had a total of 8 sprints, 8 20-second sprints for these athletes. 80% of the benefits were occurring after the first 2 sprints. So they thought,
Wow.
well, most people don't want to be Olympic or professional athletes. So what that should mean is that if someone's only doing 2 20-second sprints per week, or sorry, 2 20-second sprints per session, that will be enough to maintain their health. And through further study, what they found was that doing 80 seconds, so 2 20-second sprints twice per week, was equivalent to 90 minutes of running. So you could either go out and go for a 90-minute jog, or you could get 80 seconds of sprints. So we'll go through this now so we can look at some of the study work. And then, of course, people in our community that are watching this are free to look at these studies later. But basically, this is going to outline that the main finding of the present study is that 8 weeks of REHIT, as it's called, elicited more potent and time-efficient improvements in cardiorespiratory fitness and cardiometabolic health when compared to traditional moderate intensity continuous training. So in other words, you can sprint for 20 seconds, rest for 3 minutes, sprint for 20 seconds, and that's going to be equivalent to 45 minutes of moderate intensity running.
Wow, that is amazing. And I want to apologize. My video has dropped out for some reason, but I am here and listening intently.
Okay.
So people can focus on your beautiful face and the studies in front of them. So until my video comes back. So what you're saying is these 45-minute to an hour-long HIIT training classes that happen at the gym, the most efficient piece of that is at the very beginning, and you don't have to overstress the body for, minutes and minutes and minutes of intensity, that you really want to maximize those first couple of sprints, that actually optimizes your health. Is that what you're saying from this study?
So what I'm saying is it all depends on what you're training for. So if you're
Got it.
training to be an Olympic athlete, you're going to need to do more training volume. If you're training to be a professional athlete where you just want, absolute best peak performance, then you add more training volume. But if you're someone that's very busy, you got a family, you have a lot of work hours that you put in, and you're just having a hard time finding 10 minutes or 15 minutes to exercise, this is a way where you could say, okay, I'm going to commit that on Mondays and Thursdays, I'm going to train, and I'm going to train for 10 minutes. So I'm going to, let's say you're doing this on a treadmill. You'd have 2 minutes where you're going to be doing a slow walk, and you're just going to be warming up, getting the body going. Then you're going to sprint for 20 seconds. There's a specific machine that I'll show in just a moment where all of this is controlled by AI, and it makes it very simple. But on a treadmill, which I'll do both an exercise bike and a treadmill because I like both. On the treadmill, you'll set the treadmill to where you're sprinting uphill as fast as you can for those 20 seconds. Then you have a rest period of 3 minutes, and then you sprint for another 20 seconds, and then you rest for 2 or 3 minutes, however long you need to, and then you're done. So you can get, if you're training, exercising on Monday, Thursday, or let's say Tuesday, Friday, whatever you prefer, you can get that whole workout in less than 10 minutes and have it be equivalent to a 45-minute moderate intensity one.
Wow, I love it. I love it. I'm starting that today. So thank you for sharing that research. I am still curious about resistance training, though. How
Okay.
would you fold in resistance training into this kind of program?
Okay. So we're going to, let me finish up here just for a moment. So there's a few ways of doing this training. One that we've already talked about would be to get on a treadmill and you're sprinting uphill as fast as you can for that 20 seconds. And by the way, if you haven't trained in a while, then you should be speaking with your doctor and easing into this slowly. So you may want to lose some weight first. You may want to walk daily for 20 or 30 minutes to build up to this. But needless to say, if you haven't exercised in a while, work with a doctor so you don't get injured, so you don't have a health problem. But this is a piece of equipment. We don't have any affiliation with Carol Bike. This happens to be a piece of equipment that I use that I like. Other exercise bikes you could use as well. What I like about this is that it's specifically designed to work with REHIT. And essentially it just puts you through a program where you have a rest period, you sprint for 20 seconds, another rest period, sprint for 20 seconds, and then you're done. Now, you don't need any equipment at all. If you wanted to use burpees, which most people hate because they're so intense,
Yep.
but that's kind of the idea. Again, this is something that you could work up to, but here's a study that showed that you could use REHIT with burpees and get excellent results. And this study demonstrates that 40-second equipment-free REHIT protocol utilizing burpees improves both physical and mental health outcomes. And if you don't know what a burpee is, then you can look up a video on it, and it's simple to try, but difficult to execute, or challenging to execute. But 20 seconds is not so bad.
Well, I was going to
Okay.
ask you to do some for us, but I won't. To do some burpees.
I'm capable of doing them. I wouldn't be
I'm sure
afraid of
you
doing
are.
them, but I don't
I'm
have a
sure you
camera
are.
where you could see me do it. But
Yeah, I get it.
I've
So
certainly done them
question,
for many years. Okay,
yeah, I'm
let's
sure
get
you
on to
have.
the resistance training part. Now, a
Great.
lot of people don't like to lift weights, and that's so totally fine. There's many ways to do resistance training, but the idea here is that if you don't challenge your muscles, they're going to atrophy, and you're also going to lose bone density. So you should get your mindset around the idea that there are no choices here. Meaning, if you're 40, 50, 60 years old and you don't want to be an old 70-year-old, then you have to exercise and you have to do resistance training. This is all about improving quality of life. So if you want to have a vibrant, healthy life where you can go out mountain climbing if you want to, go bowling, participate in all kinds of activities, and you can do that because you've maintained your physical fitness, it's going to require resistance training. Now, here's the good news. You don't have to spend an hour in the gym every day, 5 or 6 days a week. I've done that and I enjoy it. But what would you do to really minimize that amount of training? Could we exercise 5 minutes per week and get meaningful results? And the answer is yes. So this
Love
would
it.
be a system I would recommend for someone that hasn't exercised in a while, and you just want to get started and do this for 8 or 12 weeks and see a meaningful change in your body composition. You can do it. I still do this today as part of an overall program. But again, I really enjoy strength training. Here's a
Love it.
good book
Yeah.
on the subject by Pete Sisko and John Little. And if you go to YouTube, you can also see some videos by them. But this is one of their books called Static Contraction Training. And it's just based on this idea that you can build muscle and decrease body fat with no movement at all in only 5 minutes per week. How
I
does
love
this
that
work?
because, I love that because, like you said earlier, anyone can do 5 minutes. Like, the time is not an excuse anymore. With all this new research coming in, it also gives me a lot of hope that people with busy lives can actually make an impact on their health and their longevity moving forward.
No
So
question about it.
yeah, I mean, that's pretty revolutionary. Like, to your point, if you don't have, 10 hours a week to go to the gym, you've got 80 seconds, or 5 minutes to do
Right.
this is fantastic. I'm
Yeah, all of these
curious.
things, you could do this in a gym.
Yeah.
I have a home gym.
Mm.
So when I'm in Florida, I have a home gym. When I'm in Denmark, I have a home gym. And because I don't actually have the time to go to a traditional gym and work out. My work life is a lot of hours behind
Yeah.
a desk with a computer. So one thing I'm not willing to sacrifice is my health. And so I want to be in the gym training. And so I've looked for different techniques that I can use that if I'm having an exceptionally busy day or I'm traveling, can I still get a workout in and have it be meaningful? And the answer is yes. So first, a little explanation on static contraction training or isometrics. So when we're thinking about resistance training, we think about something like going into a gym and seeing people do curls or bench presses or squats. We're lifting a weight over a range of motion. So let's say on a shoulder press, we've got a bar up over here on a barbell press, and then we're pressing it over our head and then back down. So that would be dynamic training in this context. So there's a concentric and an eccentric motion. Static contraction training, the difference now on the shoulder press would be instead of going through a range of motion, now instead we're only holding the weight and working against, of course, the force of
Mm.
gravity
Mhm.
and holding that for, let's say, 10 seconds. And that would be it.
Mm.
And we have equipment that we're going to take a look at for doing that. But here's a study that's showing that isometric training can actually be more effective than traditional weightlifting.
Wow, so if
I
you've
found
only
this
got a few
interesting.
minutes. Yeah. So if you've only got a few minutes and you want to do both cardio and resistance training, what's your recommendation there? A set of sprints, and resting cadence plus some isometric lifting?
Yeah, so
Okay.
a potential way of doing this would be someone could do their 10 minutes of cardio on Monday and Thursday, and they could do their resistance training on a Tuesday, and that's it. That could be the minimum.
Yeah, wow. And will
And
help
the
with
resistance
longevity.
training is 5 minutes.
Fantastic. Wow, this is really exciting news. I'm so glad you're sharing this. I am
So
curious.
this is really
Yeah,
interesting.
go
This
ahead.
fellow is a
Yes.
technologist, and I wanted, in case people are wondering, what kind of results could they get? I found this really interesting. So this fellow started by reading Static Contraction Training from Pete Sisko, the book that I just showed that I read, and it's pretty good. But in a 4-month program, so in 16 weeks, he went from a 380-pound bench press to 470 pounds. So, that's certainly not trivial. And he's got his graphs here on his leg press and his bench press. So if you're wondering, well, could I actually see any improvements in my performance using static contraction training? The answer is absolutely yes.
Amazing. So I'm curious also about walking and strength training while you're walking. I'm sure you've heard of the trend called rucking, where you wear weight.
Yes.
And I mean, I'm sure you have. It's part of what the
Yeah.
military does.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that trend that's going on right now?
Nothing wrong with rucking. What I would say is to be cautious of is joints. So um, the at a lighter weight, at 5 pounds, 10 pounds on a rucking vest for a man or woman, that's okay. But as you increase that weight, so I have one vest that goes up to 80 pounds, which I don't use. Um, but um, if you were, as you increase the amount of weight, now you have the potential to cause damage to your spine, your hips, your knees. So my caution about rucking would be don't overdo it
Yeah.
and be cautious of the amount of weight that you're using so you're not damaging your back or your joints. Um, and then I think it's fine, but it's not going to be as time friendly as some of the techniques that we're talking about here.
Got it. And this study in front of us, I'm always curious about health span and balance, and how that helps you age better or stay younger longer. I'd love to hear about this study and the idea of, motor function as you age and balance and core strength.
Yeah, I mean, they all really go hand in hand. So as we're improving the strength of the core, we're going to support the lower back. Um, in this study, what they're looking at is, specifically in a rat model, does static contraction training or static strength training, isometric training improve skeletal muscle? Does it have an effect on hypertrophy or can it delay atrophy? And the answer to that is yes. So if you have, so the benefit of this is, let's say that you have someone that's 70, 75 years old and they haven't committed to a life of exercise and maybe they were thinking, well, I'm already kind of weak and frail. Is this something that I could do? And the answer is yes. You can start a program of resistance training. It doesn't have to be weight training, and it can be just a static hold. And you can get enough benefit out of that to delay atrophy and also even reverse it, improve your strength and stamina.
Is amazing.
So I did want to
Um,
take a moment and show an example of what this would look like. And again, for the purpose of um, this call, we'll just cover the basics since, we're running out of time. But this is a piece of equipment that I've used called a Peak Fit Pro. There's others, but this is specifically designed for static contraction training. And
mm,
you can see some of the numbers here, which are really, really impressive. But what I like about this is that there's no weights involved, yet you apply resistance. So in the setup that you see in the picture in the lower left, you're on a bench and you can get an entire body workout out of this. So you can do squats on this, toe raises, uh, rows, bench press, curl, shoulder press. You can do full body workout on this. And again, we have no affiliation with this company.
yeah, amazing.
But you lay down on the bench, you put your hands on the bar and you push, and there is a hydraulic cell that will um, provide the resistance. And there's
Mm,
an app that's on your phone that records the amount of time that you exercise and the amount of resistance. So, for example, I think when I started this, I was doing a bench press of 230 pounds, 240 pounds or so. And I got
mhm.
got up to over a 330-pound bench press on
Oh,
this.
wow.
So I had a really meaningful, and I had, similar improvements on other exercises. I've gotten as much as a 480-pound squat on this machine.
Oh,
It's not bad for a
without, yeah,
62-year-old.
no, that's not bad for any age. And that's
Yeah.
without dozens of weights cluttering up your home. It's a really simple machine. I love it. So efficient
Yeah.
time-wise, efficient space-wise, something like this helps you it helps you to do everything across your body without dozens of weights cluttering up your home. I love it. Thank you for
Yeah, and
sharing that.
this is one way to do it. This
Yeah.
one, there's
Yes.
lots of ways to do it, and people can be creative. You don't have to use equipment, but this
Yeah.
is just one example. And then, finally, there's always Tabatas as well. And Tabata is a 4-minute workout where you exercise for 20 seconds, rest for 10 seconds, and then repeat for a total of 8 sets. I've done these for many years. They're phenomenal. And again, it's a very time efficient way of exercising. So you could do air squats. You could do something as simple as jumping jacks, burpees, push-ups. Again, you can be creative, whatever area you want to focus on,
Yeah.
but you're in and out of a workout in 4 minutes.
And you're pushing the intensity in spurts, it sounds like, in a Tabata. Okay,
Yeah,
let's talk.
this was developed in Japan, and
Okay.
what they found was that if you had that 10-second break in between exercise, that's really where the magic happens. You go intense as you can for 20 seconds, get that brief rest, and then repeat. And 4 minutes is enough to provide meaningful results.
Love it. All right, let's talk patches.
Okay.
How can LifeWave patches help support someone who's implementing this type of efficient training program?
Yeah, so we performed studies, of course, in the past on our patches, the energy patches, glutathione, carnosine, X39, X49, all looking at exercise performance. And we have new studies that we're doing now, specifically looking at how we can optimize human performance using the patches in concert with specific types of exercise. So this would be to say if someone's already using X39, they're getting these benefits. It's supporting strength, stamina, overall recovery. X49 or carnosine are also excellent to support exercise performance. And of course, the original patches that we have are energy enhancer. That goes back to when we're doing studies in 2003, 2004, showing that we get meaningful improvements in exercise performance with energy enhancer. So there'd be a variety of things we could talk about there.
Love it. What about recovery? Is there a particular patch you really like for recovery?
Oh, this is actually a great point. So when we're talking about reshaping body composition, there's an old saying from bodybuilding that muscles are built in the gym, but abs are built in the kitchen. And so there's a time and place for everything. So if you're reducing your exercise to, let's say 5 or 10 minutes, a few days a week, what that's going to mean is that you have to eat healthy, get adequate protein. You're not going to build muscle with having enough protein and healthy fats. And then, of course, you need to have the space to recover, and that's going to be proper sleep. So Silent Nights, Alavita, Eon, of course, our Celergize evening formula in those markets where we have it. All of those products are going to help improve the quality of sleep, and that's going to help improve recovery. So if someone's really looking to reshape their body, you really want to focus on 7-8 hours of sleep to provide the time for that recovery.
Love it. One of my favorite products is Celergize. Do you mind sharing with us how Celergize morning and evening can help support your training, help support longevity in terms of your exercise program?
Yeah, so we have just a little bit of time to share this. So first, for the evening formula, basically Celergize is not going to act like a drug. Of course, everything in Celergize evening is natural, and it is going to help relax the body. So it has theanine, magnesium, nattokinase, taurine. These will all help to improve circulation, relax the body, and get it set up for a good night's sleep and recovery. In addition to that, taurine, which is an amino acid, has been shown to improve exercise performance and also support the health of the brain and the heart.
Yeah.
So Celergize Evening will relax the body to improve performance, improve recovery, and along with the taurine in it. Now,
Wow.
the morning formula, of course, is quite a bit different. The morning formula was designed to complement all of the patches. So it doesn't matter if you're using X39, glutathione, carnosine, whatever patch you select, the morning formula will have the nutrients to optimize the effects of those patches. So, for example, one of the things that was discovered by the United States Army is that glutathione was absolutely critical to exercise performance. So the Army had an objective that by the year 2025, which of course is now passed, that they wanted all active military personnel on some type of glutathione supplement. And they began this work in the early 2000s. So, and this is because glutathione is an antioxidant, helps to manage stress, and this improves performance. So Celergize Morning has N-acetylcysteine in it, which is the precursor to glutathione. Beta-alanine, which is also found in Celergize Morning. That's the precursor to carnosine. Carnosine will buffer blood lactate levels, and this helps delay fatigue. And that's one of the reasons why people take a carnosine supplement. So we've included beta-alanine in our formula to help support carnosine levels, and this helps manage blood lactate, which will improve a person's resistance to fatigue, among other things in
Is
Celergize.
blood lactate related to lactic acid that is the reason your
Yes.
muscles get sore? Okay. So it helps your body clean that out. That's fantastic. That's a great
Yeah,
recovery.
I mean, essentially what happens is you exercise and then you get to a point where there's not enough oxygen available to your muscles to manufacture energy. And now you go into an anaerobic metabolism. And the byproduct of anaerobic metabolism is lactic acid. And as the lactic acid builds up, most people think of this as the muscle burn. As the lactic acid builds up, this induces fatigue and reduces the amount of work that a muscle can perform. So if we have a product like carnosine, which can delay the formation of lactic acid, that means the muscle can perform more work.
Love it. So lots of options out of the Lifeway family of products to help support people's training. I love it. I love having all those options. Is there anything else about our products you'd like to share in terms of exercise performance, recovery, efficiency before we close?
Yeah. What I would say is, the most important thing is that if you're a person, let's say over the age of 40 or 50, you haven't exercised in a while, I would really encourage you to work with a trainer, work with your doctor, and come up with a comprehensive program. This is really about putting in a strong foundation. So be thinking about things like intermittent fasting, having a clean, healthy diet, dividing up your meals in a way so that you're getting enough healthy fats and you're getting enough protein, which is a whole other subject. Structure your day so you're getting an adequate amount of rest. If you're busy and you can only commit to 10 minutes of exercise twice a week, now you know what you're going to do. And this is going to make our products more effective when you're putting that foundation in place. So it's very important, if you haven't exercised in a while, that you work with a professional that can guide you so you don't overdo it and get injured. It's so much better to take it slow, even if you're just going to start out by walking for a month or two to get your system going again. Very important that you think of the long term here, and you're not jumping into something that's going to get you hurt.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, David. I so appreciate your time and your knowledge as usual. And I apologize for the video issues. I tried to fix it while we were talking. It didn't happen. But I was here paying attention. This is really fantastic information. If you had to summarize your philosophy on exercise in one sentence for our brand partners and customers to share with people, what would that be?
Yeah, I would say it would be think long term. So this is not something where you want to exercise for a month and then that's it. So do something that's enjoyable, that you're going to enjoy doing. Think about that this is a lifetime commitment and that this is going to pay incredible interest in your life. You're going to have a better quality of life. You know, my kids, my family are extremely active. And one of the joys that I have in my life is that I can go swimming, I can go hiking, climbing, you know, whatever it might be, because I put the time in each week to keep my body in shape. And I get a lot more happiness out of life as a result. So think about this as a long-term commitment, as a lifestyle, and you're going to consequently reap the rewards as a result.
Love it. Thank you. Have a great day and a great week, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.